There I am. No, I got my script here. I'll find the script. Okay, thank you. Okay, I assume everyone can hear me now. Okay, sorry about that. Um, there we go. Yeah, and I'm sorry about Thursday. We had a little computer glitch. So Jim asked, so the way this works is I've got a script here that I go over. I talk about different topics people have called me about, okay, or things that I found on the internet that I think you'll find interesting. And then you can ask questions on the chat feature, and I'll try to answer those questions there. Okay. Um, so Jim asked, how long does it take for old bills to leave your record? You're talking about on your credit report. Okay. It depends. You know, some credit reporters keep reporting things when they shouldn't. Technically, once a creditor writes it off as uncollectible, or they writes it off as a bad debt, then they shouldn't be reporting it being late from then on. It's just that one time. But sometimes they keep reporting it as being late, and you can stop that. We have a program called 7 Steps to a 720 Credit Score. After you've been part of Helps for 90 days, you can get enrolled in that program. It's free, and um, they'll tell you how to do that. How to try to rebuild your credit. A lot of our clients don't care about rebuilding credit, but those that do can participate in that program. I'm not an expert on rebuilding credit. I've learned a lot over the years on how to do it just because of trying to help people. But it's not specifically what we do. What we do is represent seniors who owe debt to stop collectors from harassing them. Okay. So good to have you here. So Paul asks, what happens if you move abroad? How do you answer judgments or suits? Well, you probably don't need to, Paul, because if you live overseas, okay, if your income is Social Security or a pension, okay, let's say Social Security first off, it's protected. No one can take it, okay, and if it's deposited into a bank account, there's a rule went in effect in 2012 that I've explained before that tells banks to if someone sues you and gets a judgment and they try to garnish your bank account, the bank examines where your money came from, and it came from a federal source. They, like Social Security, they take the sum you get each month times 2 and automatically protect that sum in your bank account, regardless if there's monies in your bank account that came from somewhere else. Okay, so if you got 1,500 in Social Security, 3,000 is protected in the bank account. Okay, now how do you answer judgments or lawsuit? You don't have to answer a judgment or lawsuit. I mean, if you did, you'd have to have a way to go to court. You're not going to come back. You may not generally worry about it. Most of the time we tell our clients that are sued is, if you owe the money, probably don't need to do anything. If you can defend the lawsuit if you want, but you'd have to come back here to defend it. But if you owe the money, and you were to defend it and you lose, which you would if you owe the money, okay, then there's nothing the creditor can do to collect from you, okay, and it'll be protected in your bank account, like I explained. So no, we have a lot of clients that live overseas. That now, how are they going to sue you? That's going to be difficult because they got to serve you with legal papers. I've never had anyone tell me yet that lived in the Philippines, somewhere in Central America, or Thailand, or wherever they live. Some people even live in Europe. That they ever got served with a summons that you wouldn't get. So the creditor would have to serve you. Now, there is ways for them to serve you in other ways, but the bottom line is, if your income is protected, even though you live overseas, they can't get at your income, you're going to be fine. Okay. Don't want you to worry. How long will the credit card companies keep after you? Oh gosh. Well, we designed Helps. Okay, so I've been attorney now, 46 years. Did probably 30, 40,000 bankruptcies before we started Helps. It started Helps because A lot of seniors would come into me to file bankruptcy, and I tell them, you don't need to file bankruptcy. You can't afford to file bankruptcy. Uh, Creditors can't take anything from you. You're judgment proof. But I know if I send and they could, I know if I send them home, the creditor's going to call them and harass them, and make their lives miserable. So there's a law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that tells debt collectors what they can and cannot do. And one of the things that Fair Debt Collection Practices Act provides that if you're represented by an attorney, collectors have to leave you alone. So that's what HELPS does. We represent seniors uh, as their attorney, so collectors have to leave the person alone. When they enroll in HELPS, they give us the creditors they owe money to. We send out a cease and desist letter, and they're going to stop bothering you. Okay, and we don't turn anyone away that needs our help. Okay, the cost is minimal. The way we've structured our fee agreement is the most a person would pay normally would be $40 for 24 months, $20 for 24 months, and free thereafter. Might be like $30 for 24 months, $15 for 24 months, free thereafter, or $20 for 24 months, $10 for 24 months, free thereafter. Now, the reason it goes down and it's free is because over time these problems go away. But you ask the question, how long can they come after you? Well, that's the magic of HELPS, because it's not a one-time thing. We literally represent you for the rest of your life, because if a creditor can't collect from you, maybe they'll sell it to a new debt collection company, and you might get a new notice a year or 2 years down the road. Okay, you might get sued 3 years down the road or 4 years down the road. And if that happens, you let us know. We're going to send a letter to the attorney that sued you, tell them that your income is protected, you're not going to pay it, you're going to call us with questions, so you don't worry. That's 99% of what we do, telling seniors why they don't need to worry and explaining to them why. Frankly, that's what we do. How long will they come after you? I've had people tell me they've had creditors that they owe money to for 20 or 30 years ago contacted them. Now, technically, there's a statute of limitation that tells a debt collector they have so much time to file a lawsuit. Okay, if they can't legally file a lawsuit after, depending on state law, it could be like 3 years, 6 years, whatever. They can't file a lawsuit after that. But you still technically owe the debt, and they can still call to try to collect from you. Now, usually they don't do that. So how soon do they stop? We designed HELP so that you're paying for 4 years, and after that you're not paying anything, because we figure after 4 years these problems are going to go away. But once again, if you do get a notice anytime at any point of a new debt collector, you get that to us. We send them a cease and desist letter so they leave you alone. Okay. Seems like I can't get a New Jersey attorney to confirm my pension is protected 100%. Well, I'm not a New Jersey attorney, but it's protected. Your pension is protected under a federal law called ERISA, Employment Retirement Income Security Act. Most pensions are protected under that. That was passed in 1974. Now, if it's not protected under ERISA, I can guarantee you, Paul, that there's a state law in New Jersey that's going to protect your pension, okay, from garnishment. Okay, I'm 74. I've been doing this since 1978. Okay, I have never in my entire practice see anyone ever able to garnish a pension. It's not going to happen. So you could call New Jersey attorneys to the blue in the face, and maybe they don't. They don't know. They don't practice in this area. Your pension's going to be safe. Now, you don't even need to worry about it unless someone were to sue you and get a judgment. Now, if they sued you and got a judgment, you'd want to make sure the pension goes in the same account that your Social Security goes, because like I explained earlier a few minutes ago, the bank protects twice the amount of your federal benefit in your bank account, regardless of other funds are in there. So if you got a pension of 1,000, Social Security of 1,500 times 2, that's federal benefit is 3,000. Even if there's money in there, like from your pension, it's going to be protected. Okay. Erica wanted to know, can a creditor go after the equity in a paid-off home if they get a judgment? Well, those that know me well, might say, well, it's possible that the Martians could come for dinner on Saturday night, or some aliens, Okay, it's possible. We could get invaded by aliens. I don't think it's going to happen. Or you could drive to Circle K on Saturday night at 10 o'clock and get hit by a drunk driver at 10:07 p.m. It's possible, but we don't live our life that way. Now, it's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors, like a credit card company that gets a judgment, to ever go after a person's home, even if you have equity in the home, um, over above the state exemption. See, almost every state virtually has a certain amount of equity that's protected in different types of property. So much equity in a home. Some states protect the equity in a home completely, like Texas, Florida. Some have really high homestead exemptions. California, at least 700,000. Different states, it depends. But it's not the practice of a consumer judgment creditor, Mrs. H, to go after the equity in your home if they get a judgment. Now, it can become a lien. I talk about that a lot on this channel. That's not generally, that won't be a program. It won't be a problem. Okay. I was reading the next question where it says great program, whatever that means. Let me see where I'm at here. Yeah. So when I called judgment renewal issue, a caring lady listened, reviewed Utah, and explained my situation. Yeah, that's what we do. Okay. And we talk to people. The whole purpose of helps is to give legal information so you don't worry. Can you help with a Verizon account if I can't afford forced retirement? I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, if you owe money to any creditor you owe money to, if you're getting retirement funds, Social Security or pension, it's protected. You don't have to pay a Verizon. I don't care who the creditor is. Okay. So I'm going to show you something here, if I can get it up here. So just before I started, I Googled something like, help for seniors with debt. Yeah, I'm going to show you what seniors are faced with on the internet is the false or incomplete information that's given to them. So this is from a company called Freedom Debt Relief. Here we go. Here it is. Okay, by this guy, Peter Warden, dated November 10th. That's today. How to find debt relief for seniors. And I'm going to tell you how these companies deceive seniors and don't give them complete information. So if you're Googling this, and I did, and it popped right up, this article. And table of contents, understanding debt relief, eligibility criteria. Okay, here's the types of debt relief that he talks about. Consolidate your debts to get more affordable payment. Work with a credit counselor to get a handle on your budget. Get help from family or friends. File for bankruptcy protection. Settle your debt for less than the full amount. And then he talks about the different ways. Okay, debt consolidate, credit counseling, bankruptcy, debt settlement. And what is freedom debt relief? Well, okay. What did that article say? It nowhere said what I'm telling you. The fact that your Social Security and your pension is protected. And if you had debt you couldn't afford to pay, you don't need to get involved with debt settlement. You call these companies, and with rare exception, they're not going to tell a senior, by the way, you don't need our help. Your income is protected. No one can take anything from you. And there's a law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act where you can stop the creditors from bothering you. They're not going to tell you that. If they told you that, they wouldn't make money off you. And so, in a lot of ways, they're scammers or they're frauds. One of the definitions of fraud is withholding information from someone for your financial benefit. And that's what literally they do. They don't tell a senior the most basic thing a senior needs to know is that their income, their Social Security, and their pension is protected. So if you're involved with debt settlement or debt management, and they never told you that your income was safe, then you weren't given complete information. And if you're strapped making a payment to a debt management or debt settlement company, and you're going without basic needs or struggling, you can stop paying them. They can't take anything from you. You can call helps. We'll go over this. That's our phone number down there. We don't turn anyone away that needs our help. Okay, Wendy asks, should I change my phone number? They probably find it somehow anyway. And Credit One is relentless. They have 100 different phone numbers. Blocking doesn't work. I turned answering machine off landline. Okay, well, first off, when you enroll in helps, we're going to send a cease and desist letter out, and that phone call should stop. Okay? Now, once in a while, we'll talk to someone that may have a real problem with maybe a fraudulent creditor calling them or something like that. And rarely would I tell anyone they need to change their phone number, but once in a while, you can do it if you had to. But Credit One, I mean, the other thing is, you don't need to answer a call unless you recognize the number. You don't need to answer it. Okay. If you bank at the same company, you owe credit card debt. Should you move your Social Security and pension to another bank? Probably not necessarily. Now, if it's a credit union, yes, because when you sign up with a credit union, you gave them permission to take money out of your account, whether you realize it or not. Banks don't do that, except for Truist Bank. They do that. But if you have another bank, they're not going to offset money out of your account to pay the loan. Now, technically, there is a federal law that tells banks that they can't offset money out of your account to which Social Security goes. But theoretically, they could offset money out of your account if you had a pension going in there, but they don't, as a practice, do that. So if you're in love with your bank for whatever reason, I'm not talking about a credit union. If it's a credit union, you owe them money, then you're going to want to change to a different bank where you don't owe money. But if you're where you bank, it's very convenient, and you owe them money, and you're not going to pay them, and you got Social Security going there, you should be okay. Okay. Yeah. So Kathy talks on the comment about how it helps relieve stress. I know that. That's what we're here for. I tell people that, if you ever have a question or concern, you pick up the phone and you call no matter how often. So, with helps, you don't get charged every call you make. You can call every day of the week if you want to. And we'll talk to you. That's what we're here for. Okay, so that's the problem we deal with these debt management companies. That just came out today. Nowhere in that article did it mention the fact that if you're a senior, your income was protected, and you didn't need to pay the debt. Instead, they're going to they steer you toward debt management. Their company particular, they make passing notice of bankruptcy, but seniors are terrified of bankruptcy. They don't need to file bankruptcy, so they're steering them to debt management. And if you call them on the phone, do you really think they're going to tell you that you don't need it? No. I talk to seniors that are put in utter poverty, making a payment to a debt management or debt settlement company. Now, it could be either a profit or nonprofit, either one. Either one. Okay. Okay, I'll read this. Okay. It says Experian called her. I don't know. Experian is a credit reporting agent, is a credit reporter. But anyway, offered her consolidation, transferred to a consolidation company that she signed up with. They ended up charged her $7,500 off of her credit card. Now they're trying to refinance their home to catch up on her credit card bills. We discussed how her income was protected and told her, she can get out of the consolidation company. We had to repeat things quite a bit, which is fine. We're happy to do that. The comment from one of our attorneys is, I think she has got mixed up in some fraud or an especially shady debt management company. Some are more shady than others, but they're all pretty shady, except for the ones that refer clients to helps, which one or two of them do. This is the company she went to, called Specs Financial. She filed a complaint with the BBB. Won't do you any good, but anyway, I told her to contact the Florida Attorney General and file a consumer complaint. There's nothing wrong with that. She's still in the stage of disputing the debt with her credit card company. She did this right away, so things are still in. And it looks like I talked to. They may have enrolled with helps. But anyway, we deal with people all the time set up with these debt management companies. It's a constant battle. So I talked to someone earlier today, not too long ago. I told them I'd mention this on YouTube Live. They, when they enroll with helps, they gave us their debts, but they left someone off. Wakefield and Associates, which is a debt collector. And now, a couple years later, they find out that they've overpaid Wakefield Associates. They were taking out $36.95 out of their check account for a number of years. And now they looked at that and they figured, I think we paid them, and they added up and found out they overpaid them by over $1,000. They filed a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They called Wakefield. They're not getting any help from them, and they won't. And they didn't know what to do. I told them, well, you could theoretically sue them, but it's probably not worth the effort because, it costs you money to sue them, and how are you going to collect? And it's just going to it'd be tough. So what's the lesson to learn? First off, if you look at your bank account, if you got money coming out of there automatically, you can stop it. Okay. And, when I tell people when they enroll in helps, you give us your creditors you owe money to. Now, if you have a credit card that you owe a little bit on and you're current on it, you want to keep it, you can keep that credit card. Okay. You don't have to list all of them. As long as that credit card isn't backed by a bank with whom you have another credit card you're not going to pay, you can keep a credit card and enroll in helps. But I got on the internet and I typed in Wakefield and Associates scam. I'm not saying they're a scam, but it just went on and on about Wakefield and Associates saying not so good things about them. Okay. So once again, the lesson is, if you enroll in helps and you've got a debt and you made an agreement with someone, maybe they got a judgment against you and you agreed to pay them. It doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. You can stop making the payment. Remember, your income is protected. You don't need to continue making the payment. Stop it. Okay, so if I don't have a loan with the credit union, okay, only used as a banking, okay, mortgages with another bank, do I need to change to a regular bank? No. Credit unions are fine. The only problem we have with credit union is if you owe them money. If you owe them money, they take it more personal than a bank does. They're going to cut you off, or they're going to set money out of your account to pay the debt. So if you have a credit union account you're happy with, as long as you don't owe money, or if you owe the money and you continue to pay it, no problem. Okay? And I'll add in this one little tidbit about credit unions. Let's say you have a car loan with a credit union and then you have a credit card. So credit unions have what's called cross-collateralization agreements. So if you have two loans with a credit union, one of them is a secured loan, like a car loan, then whether you realize it or not, when you made that other loan for a signature loan or a credit card loan, on the documents that you signed, you gave them, you stated that loan would also be secured by your car. It's called cross-collateralization. In other words, if you owe $5,000 on the car and you have a credit card debt for 3,000, you owe 8,000 on that car. So that could be a. You need to understand that. We talk about that, what to do in that case. Um, okay. If you have several credit cards with the same bank, will they group them all together with one judgment, or say three if you have three with them? Um, they generally sue separately for each credit card. Doesn't make sense, does it? But that's my impression. But once again, if your income's protected, you could get sued by three creditors or 3,000 creditors. It's going to matter. You're not going to have to pay it. You don't need to worry about it. So Canadian Dreamer says some YouTube videos about people losing homes that a scammer has sold on them without their knowledge. Scary. Baloney. Baloney. The guy that shoots the YouTube video should be, he's the scammer if he's trying to get you to pay money. I see some advertisements for these, title lock and all that crap. No one can sell a home out from. They can sell it, but it's meaningless. It'd be set aside. Okay. See, when you sell a home, first you got to sign it. It's got to be notarized, and it has to be you yourself that sells the home. No one else can sell my home, even if they fake my signature and they get some fraud to notarize it. Okay. And in 46 years of practice, 30, 40,000 bankruptcies, before I started helps, have I ever talked to anyone that ever had their home, someone attempted to sell their home out from under them? Never. Now, but once again, it's not going to, if they did do something like that, it can be set aside in another way. You don't need to pay someone to get a title lock loan. They get captive. That's right. There's a new one that comes up every day. It's different scams, what they essentially are. And then you'll have some people on the internet, on news programs that will advertise these guys. Okay. So here's a person from Florida contacted us. Age of 67. Her only income is less than $900 in Social Security. Lost everything during COVID, then hit by 3 hurricanes. Only get Social Security. Daughter and 6 grandkids live with her. She's buying a home, and she's got a couple old mobile homes she's trying to get rid of. Has a car, buying a car that doesn't run. Or if you have a car that you're making payments on that doesn't run, it's not worth what you owe. You can stop making the payment, let it go back. Okay. Um, we waived her fees, so she's getting our help for free. We can't afford it. She's taking care of 6 grandkids and her daughter. Um, we talked about how if she goes to sell a home, how she could remove a Florida judgment lien. She's concerned about that. So if you have, when you listen to me today and you're in the position where you have problems with debt and you don't know what to do, you don't have any, give us a call and talk to us. We'll go over this with you. We want to help people. Okay. Here's one. How about if you stuck a bunch of money into stock and lost money and profited very little? Is there anything to worry about if you haven't filed taxes for 4 or 5 years? I live in Wisconsin and don't have to file taxes normally. They make buying and selling on these apps easy, but I struggle to fill out taxes the first year. I don't think I was going to get it done without a nervous breakdown. I just started trying and ran into a brick wall. Then I'd be late trying extension, just couldn't get it done. Probably isn't going to be an issue for you. Okay, if your only income is Social Security now, uh, your IRS is probably is not going to do anything. Now, whether you had, it says you had a bunch of money and you lost money. So if you would file tax returns, you're not going to show a gain. So yeah, if you just don't have the ability to file the tax return or can't afford to do it, IRS is likely going to do nothing. Now, I'm not telling anyone that they shouldn't file their tax returns if they're required to file it. But based on this, you're probably not even required to file tax returns. I talked to a lot of seniors worried about filing tax returns. Their only income is Social Security. You don't need to file tax returns if your only income is Social Security. And if you end up owing taxes, you can often qualify to get on what's currently not collectible status, CNC status. And we talk about what you do if you owe taxes. Okay, now if you owe the state taxes, state tax collector can't touch your Social Security or pension. It's protected. Okay, so this person contacts us. California client called about a levy. Oh, yeah. I talked to someone this morning a few minutes ago. Well, not too long. Anyway, the judgment was against the wife. But then they sent a writ of garnishment on the husband saying, are you holding any money belonging to your wife that we want you to turn it over to us? And I said, well, that's pretty unusual. And she read it. I'm going to forward it to us. We'll tell him what to do. But see, a lot of these creditors, they do things. They're trying to get you to call them so you can make arrangements to make payments. And so they're always trying to think of something, not always, but a lot of times they try to think of some new tactic to get someone to call. And they'll take advantage of state law. Certain states have different laws, and it's easy for things to be printed out, sent it to someone, and they're counting on if it's a senior especially, they're counting on you not understanding the law, you being scared, thinking you have to call them and make arrangements to make payments when you don't have to. But if your member helps you, call us about that stuff. We're going to give you the information you need to know so you don't need to worry about this. So Robert says he joined Helps in February, and when he stopped making, when should I expect to get sued? Well, you may never get sued, Robert. Remember, when you enrolled at Helps, we ask you to get us the creditors you owe money to. I mean, the name, address, and account number. We don't need the balance. And then we send it what's called a cease and desist letter. We explain to the creditor that your income is protected. You can't afford to pay the debt. You're not going to pay the debt. Okay. And if they have any questions, they call us instead of you. That's what Helps does. We're getting calls all day long from creditors. Well, what do you represent this person? I talked to this one guy. It seems like I talk to him about every 3 weeks. I don't talk to a lot of creditors, but for one reason, this guy gets through to me. And he has a whole list of people, at least a dozen to 20. And I'll go over the list with him because I talk to people. Do you represent this person? Yep. Do you represent this person? And I recognize the guy's voice. I don't know why. I've talked to him at least 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months. So apparently he belongs to some debt collector, and they've got a list, and they just want to verify that Helps represents these certain people. So you don't need to be worried about getting sued. We don't want you to be sued. That's one reason why, we send out the cease and desist letter. That's another reason why, after you enroll in Helps, we're going to ask you to get us proof of your Social Security and a client authorization form where you give us authority to talk to a creditor on your behalf. The reason for that is once in a while, a debt collector will want proof that we're authorized to talk on your behalf. We like to send them that. And they want proof that your income and Social Security are protected. And we like to send that to them. We'll black out certain personal information. But the reason we do that is I think it makes it less likely they would sue. Like, once again, it doesn't matter if they sue or not, but I don't want our clients being sued just because they don't want, I don't want someone on knocking the door. If we could avoid that, that's great. And so I think by getting the creditor that information, it may make it less likely that they would sue you. Okay? So you don't, Robert, you don't need to expect to be sued, but if you are, don't worry about it. We'll help you deal with it. Do you have any information on Medicare and medical insurance? I'm still working part-time, but 65 in February. I work because I get medical insurance through my job. I don't know who to trust for info. I'm not a big expert on that, but if you've got medical insurance, that's probably going to take precedent over the Medicare. I'm. You can call and talk. There are people that helps that are probably better at this than I am that we have that could talk to you about this. Okay. Oh, here's one I talked to this morning, and this person is a regular with helps on our YouTube chat feature. I'm not going to give her name, but there's three sisters. And one sister who is sick, I think has cancer and may be passing away at some point, and had a transfer on death deed to her two other sisters. One sister lives in Florida. The other sister lives in a state in the north. And the other sister that lives in the state in the north lives with the other sister that has cancer. And the sister that owns the home is the sister that has cancer, and she's got what's called a transfer on death deed. And the way she worded that provides that when she dies, the property is going to go to the sister in Florida and also the sister that lives with her. Well, the sister in Florida talked to the sister that lives with the sister that's got cancer and said, I really don't care about the home. I live in Florida. I'm fine. I want you to have the home. Okay. And so the sister that lives with the sister that has cancer calls and talks to me today. Now, the home is worth about 120. The exemption in the state where they live is 160,000. So there's no equity in the home over and above the state exemption. And I suggested to her, okay, and she wanted to know what to do. How do I get my sister off that? Well, first of all, a transfer on death deed, the sister that owns the home that has cancer has complete control over the property. She could change everything. You know, you I told her you don't have any interest in that home, only if she dies. Okay. But if she wanted to, instead of a transfer on death deed, she could add you to the title of the home so that you own it jointly with her with survivorship rights. Joint tenants with rights to survivorship. Now that means that would kick out the sister in Florida that doesn't have anything to do with the home. Now you own it together with the sister that's got cancer, who's going to die. And then when she passes away, the property will automatically go to you. Okay? Now, technically, if you do a transfer on death deed and you get the property on transfer on death deed, in this state, uh, if the sister that died has a bunch of medical debt or debt, they could make a claim on the property. Okay, and you could theoretically lose it. Okay, but if you changed it and you owned the interest with your sister as joint owners with rights to survivorship, that means when your sister died, the property will automatically go to you. In my opinion, the chances of a creditor trying to undo that and trying to challenge that transfer, not going to happen. Why? Because you live with your sister. You've been contributing to the household expenses. Shouldn't be. That would make things so that when your sister dies, you're going to own that property free and clear in your name alone. Now, if you had other problems, debt problems, in the state where you're at, the homestead exemptions like 160,000. The home's worth 125. No one could get at the home. It's okay. You're going to be fine. So one thing we do, it helps. If you have a question and stuff, we're going to go over the law with you and explain things to you so you understand. So this person says, I have credit card debt, um, but when I die, um, is the estate going to have to pay the credit card debts instead of the property going to my children? Well, yeah, unless you do something, that's probably the case. Because if you have a will, the will's going to provide that before your property goes to your heirs, your debt has to be paid. So sometimes, you know, clients that have a home not worth, most of our clients we deal have very, very modest or low incomes or low. They don't have a lot of assets. They may have a home with some value, but it's not huge. They can't afford. No, they need an estate attorney or an elder law attorney that deals with seniors that have a lot of money. So if they added their kid's name to the home as joint owners with survivorship rights, in some instances, not every state, but in a lot of states, that means when they die, the property automatically goes to the kids, and any debt, there'd be no probate. Any debt they owe wouldn't have to be paid. If there's a judgment, it disappears as long as the property was added, as long as the kids were added to the title of the property before someone sued and got a judgment. Okay? Here's one. This is just a note. It says here, this is a helps client. It says, they keep coming to his ex-wife's home. Now the server is threatening to call the cops on her for not accepting the summons. So the guy's trying to serve some legal papers. And he goes to the ex-wife, and she tells the process server, well, I'm divorced. He doesn't live here. I can't accept these papers. Well, the process server, if he's a private process server, he gets paid when he serves the papers. He doesn't know that she's not divorced, and so he's mad because he wants to get paid. Um, so the client, I don't know, we'll call the guy back and tell the ex-wife she doesn't need to worry about it. There's two types of people that serve papers. There can be a private process server or a sheriff's deputy. Okay, and or in some states they may have a constable, but uh, most states, most sheriff's office will have what's called a civil deputy that can serve legal papers on you. He's not a criminal deputy. He just serves legal papers. What about the will? I distribute to all my children, so creditors come back and get it. Yeah, if the most of the time the people I talk to, the only asset they have that where a creditor would come back and get something would be maybe the home. That way, if you had your kid's name on the title of the home, then when you die, the property automatically goes to the other the children whose name is on the title with you as joint owners. What about your personal property, stuff in your house? It's not worth very much, you know. Technically, under an estate, you got to pay the cost of burial is first, and if the kids, cost, bury it pays, none of the personal property is you wouldn't have a probate over that. What about a car? Well, it depends on the state. Once again, you could always add someone's title name to the title of the car. So when you pass away, that person gets the car. My mother is 90 and lives with me. If I put her on the title to my home, are there any negative consequences to that because of her age? Probably not. Not sure why you would do that. She's likely going to pass away before you. Okay. Now, if the mom was in mom's name and she was 90 and you were 70 or 60, then adding you to the home would make a lot more sense. By adding your mom's name to the home, unless you think for some reason you're going to pass away before your mom, then maybe it could make some sense. If you if you do get a lawsuit and you don't live in the U.S. anymore, what happens to that lawsuit or judgment? Can they stop you at the U.S. border? No, not going to affect your ability. It's a civil matter. It doesn't have anything to do with your passport or coming back to the United States. No, you don't need to worry. Person asks, my only source of income is Social Security retirement pay. Because of the economy, I had to start using credit cards. I need the equity in my home in order to move to a different state for health reasons. Can the credit card company put a lien on my home? Well, they could sue and get a judgment, and that could become a lien, and that, depending on where you live, the state where you live, that could be a problem. But if you haven't been sued, there's no judgment lien. There's nothing to worry about. But you can always call and talk to us. We'll go over that situation. Here's one. I'm 55. Am I considered a senior? Well, okay, the laws we talk about here, it helps, have to do with your source of income. Okay, not your age. Okay, we got a lot of clients in their 50s and 40s that are on Social Security disability. Now, help eliminate legal problems for seniors and disabled persons. So it doesn't matter what your age is. Now, it is true the vast majority of our clients are seniors. So this person contacts us from California. Um, he gets $2,200 in Social Security and $2,300 in income from a job. Okay. Um, First off, I'll say this. The Social Security is protected. What about the income from the job? Is that going to be a problem? Well, okay. In every single state, 217.50 net per week is a federal law that protects that amount net wages in every state. However, some states protect a lot more than that. Now, if I remember right, California protects about $600 a week in income. So 600 times 4 is $2,400. This guy gets $2,300. Probably $2,500 with almost $2,600 a month in wages is protected in California from garnishment. So his income is going to be protected, the Social Security and his job. But he's not able, since he had a fall and threw out his back and was unable to work. Took out personal loans with very high interest rates. He filed bankruptcy 8 years ago. He has never missed a payment since then. He's married, does not want to include his wife. He doesn't even want her to know that he's in financial problems. And he's really concerned about that. Explained, one of our attorneys talked to him. He lives in California, that California is a community property state where technically both a husband and wife could be responsible for a debt. But it is exceptionally, and she put that in all caps, uncommon for creditors to go after a non-debtor spouse. They simply don't do it. He just took out a loan yesterday for $2,000. He called back a few days ago. They have separate bank accounts. They filed joint tax returns. They have Olsen taxes they're going to keep paying. And he enrolled in helps. Yeah, if anything I talk about sounds like this is something that's going to be able to help you, don't hesitate to call and talk to us. That's what we're here for. Tomorrow's a federal holiday. I'm planning on being on Helps YouTube Live tomorrow, if it's a holiday or not. Okay? So I'll be here tomorrow. Okay. I'll read you this one. Oh boy. I was told by my bank that if a judge has a judgment against me, they have to let them take my Social Security money. The bank should stick to banking and shouldn't be giving legal advice because he's dead wrong. So I'm paying so much a month for 2 years. Oh my. The bank told him, hey, if we get a judgment, a writ of garnishment, we have to honor it. The problem is the bank manager doesn't deal in that department. They have a department in the bank that knows the law. They're going to protect your money. Okay. I was told don't worry about it, ignored it. That was not true. That's right. So I have another letter from another company that bought the occurred. What is the truth? The truth is your money is protected. You don't need to pay it. Oh, and this is apparently this was something, a comment on one of our videos somewhere. And I said, twice the amount of monthly federal benefits like Social Security deposited in a bank account is automatically protected from garnishment by your bank under a federal rule since 2012. The person you talk to, the bank, doesn't know what they're talking about, but the department of the bank that deals with garnishment knows the law. Not the first time I've heard this. I'm going to be here tomorrow. I hope. I said, I don't think Eric will be here tomorrow. Maybe you know something I don't know. But I'm planning on being here tomorrow. Oh my. This person writes in, okay, we just got a couple minutes. I'm looking for information to assist my parents with their transition to retirement. They each turned 83 years old. Together have about 50,000 in unsecured credit card debt. They have no retirement savings and very little money in their bank account. My siblings and I are beginning to supplement their monthly expenses, about 1,000 to 1,500 per month. I would like the opportunity to discuss their predicament with you prior to advising them further. You can call, talk to us on the phone. Yeah, please give me a call later on in the week if possible. I am having a medical procedure tomorrow, so maybe Thursday if that works. Look forward to our discussion. Thank you. They don't need, mom and dad do not need to pay the credit card debt. So whatever money they get, they can use for their needs. And if you want our help to protect them from being harassed, we can do that. Okay, here's an example of when we. I'll conclude with this one. Person's from Massachusetts. I'm currently with Clear One Advantage. That's a debt management company to consolidate my debt, but I'm disabled and only have Social Security payments as income. It's only income. And it's killing me with over 30% of it going towards debt that never seems to go down. And it has been haunting me for over a decade. According to this guy, Clear One Advantage is taking 30% of his income, and his only income is Social Security. He could stop that yesterday. Clear One Advantage, if that's the company he's referring to, never told him that his income was protected. Instead, they signed him up taking 1/3 of his income. And the way they structure their fees, they're getting a lot of money. It's the way these companies work. It's the way they work. If you're involved in debt management, let the word out. That people know what these companies do to take advantage of people. Okay, it's been an hour. Thanks for participating. I will be here tomorrow, holiday or not. Okay? And God bless. And call us if you have any questions. You're going to be fine. New Jersey doesn't have a home exemption law. There's the federal home exemption law. There's a federal home exemption law that goes into effect. We can talk about that. You can always call and talk to us. God bless. Bye.